and welcome to Hannity.
Americans held hostage, abandoned behind enemy lines. Day 44.
Americans held hostage 44 days behind enemy lines. No light in sight for them to get out. Hundreds of Americans, legal residents with green cards, they have the right to be here. All of their families, thousands of our Afghan allies, yep, they remain abandoned behind enemy lines. Joe Biden, he's turned the page. We will not forget. Sadly, the situation on the ground, it gets worse every single day. Taliban terrorists are now once again hanging people in the public square, but they're doing it very professionally and businesslike, according to the Biden administration, including one man who was reportedly strung up from a tall crane right in the middle of the city. Professional, businesslike. We've turned the page. As we speak, anyone who assisted the U.S. in any way is being hunted down and will soon face a similar fate. Sadly, Joe Biden is not working at all to lift a finger to rescue our fellow citizens. In fact, he's barely working on anything at all. Last week, 4 days on the job, jets off to Camp David, another restful weekend. Today, they call a lid at 2:48 p.m. in the afternoon after refusing to answer any questions about Afghanistan, the crisis at our southern border, begging OPEC for more oil production. You know, the usual things that he ignores, or the horrific state of the economy. Take a look.
When that's legislatively by the end of this week?
Well, it may not be by the end of the week. I hope it's by the end of the week. But as long as we're still alive, we got three things to do: the debt ceiling, continuing resolution, and the two pieces of legislation. If we do that, the country's going to be in great shape. Thank you.
What's your message to Democrats as you have these calls? What's your message to Democrats, Mr. President? Mr. President, when you go to the border?
Just walks off, like a robot. He's not allowed to answer questions. He gets yelled at. And tonight, instead of addressing the crisis at the border, the Biden administration, they are outright lying, deflecting, hoping the crisis will magically resolve itself. Like Afghanistan, we just won't pay attention anymore. Joe Biden thinks he did a great job in Afghanistan. He did not. The same with the border. For example, in March, Biden's Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas proclaimed the border was closed. And he said, quote, "We are expelling families. We are expelling single adults." He was lying to you, the American people. The following months, more than 1.5 million illegal immigrants have poured across that border illegally. And, of course, Mayorkas refuses to even now use the term illegal alien or illegal immigrant. Instead, he calls them undocumented non-citizens. Keyword non-citizens. For months now, these undocumented non-citizens or illegal immigrants or aliens have been dispersed all over the U.S. with little to no vetting. For example, almost everyone in the recent wave of Haitian migrants, they were admitted into the U.S. without so much as a simple COVID test because they're not going to be here very long. That would be another lie. Take a look.
How many have been released into the U.S.?
They're released on conditions,
yes.
and approximately, I think it's about 10,000 or so, 12,000.
Have been released?
Yes.
And of the 5,000 that are still in process?
We will make determinations whether they will be returned to Haiti based on our public health and public interest authorities.
So are we talking about a total of 12,000, or could it be even higher?
It could be even higher. The number that are returned could be even higher.
I want to be clear about one thing. I'm actually 100%, I'm pro-legal immigration. All four of my grandparents, they came here from Ireland. Like so many immigrants, they were dirt poor. Both my parents grew up with next to nothing. Irish Catholics, they faced discrimination at the time. And I know I stand on their shoulders, and I'm grateful. Now, if you're an immigrant, I'll be very honest. I don't care what country you come from, what continent you come from. I don't care what you sound like, what you look like. We're all God's children. But no country on earth is without borders. People have got to respect our laws, our borders, and our sovereignty, period. No exceptions. We must be a nation of laws. In fact, most countries have very strict immigration laws. Look at this. In Australia, asylum seekers, they're not even allowed on shore. They will stop you, and they will take you to a camp in a different island. They'll give you food and water and medical assistance if you need it, and then they'll send you home. It is so difficult for these refugees to ultimately immigrate to Australia that the U.S., they've been resettling Australian-bound migrants stuck in offshore asylum camps near Australia's mainland. They refuse to take illegal immigrants. They uphold the law in their country. Meanwhile, in Western Europe, you have a record high 21,000 asylum seekers in 2015. Denmark, they said enough's enough. Then they took steps to stop and process migrants again offshore. And many other countries, you know, citizenship is such of high worth. Immigrants pay and purchase citizenship. By the way, some Americans, they give up their citizenship and buy citizenship in other countries. Because why? Citizenship, especially to this country, is of great value for people coming from countries that do not have the freedoms we often take for granted. You can look at St. Lucia, for example. It's roughly about 250 grand. You can get a passport and be a citizen. Dominica, the price tag is $100,000 per passport. Antigua, Barbuda, yeah, it's about a little over 134 grand. Cyprus is asking a whopping $2.5 million. They call them donations and investments, and you can buy citizenship. In New Zealand, you've got to invest $2 million over 4 years and be there X number of days. Malta, it's $1.1 million in investments and donations. Even Canadian residency, you can purchase residency for a few $100,000 worth of government bonds. Citizenship is a valuable, coveted thing all around the globe. America, the greatest country in the world. How much would people pay to be a citizen here? Maybe we should also get in on this action and maybe charge people to be citizens. Every other country appears to be doing it. Here in the U.S., where we let in more immigrants than anywhere else on earth, we don't ask for a penny. Instead, in theory, we merely ask immigrants to follow our laws, and we need to do more. For example, I don't care where you come from. Everybody coming into this country should undergo a security vetting to make sure you don't have radical associations. In the middle of a pandemic, it would be a pretty wise thing to make sure we do a health vetting so you're not COVID positive or don't have any other disease. In most cases, immigrants also should prove they have the ability, if we're generous enough to invite them in, that they have to be able to take care of themselves financially and not be a burden on the American people. We cannot put that burden, we can't afford to put that burden on the American people. Ideally, they would also possess a coveted skill or a trade. We can't drive the wages of American workers down either. Unfortunately, Democrats block Donald Trump's merit-based immigration bill like they have in countries like Australia. Now Joe Biden is refusing to enforce any of our existing immigration laws. He's not only enforcing the laws, he's aiding and abetting the law breaking, which he swore not to do. No background checks, no health checks. Many are a huge financial burden to you, the American taxpayer. We just can't afford Joe Biden's open borders and his lawlessness. Our southern border is a free-for-all. He's made it that way. The administration doesn't know exactly who they're letting in, just a future requested court date. That's a requested court date. They don't even require you to appear now under Joe Biden. In other words, most immigrants, they're not going to abide by the request. They don't have to. This has massive security implications. And as the once lucid Joe Biden stated in 2007, a much different Joe Biden than we see today, no country can be secure without controlling their borders. Let's listen to Joe back in the good old days.
What do I think about the control of our borders? What would I do about it? Ladies and gentlemen, no great country can say it is secure without being able to control its borders, period. What I would do about it was what I proposed to do about it almost 13 years ago. I would radically ramp up the number of border security guards we have, the use of electronic surveillance material we have to guard the border, and the number of what they call virtual fences.
That Joe Biden we see today looks pretty weak, frail, and is a cognitive mess in comparison, isn't he? But that's a sideshow. Unfortunately, Biden now cares less about a secure America and more about the radical socialist base that is the modern Democratic Socialist Party. Because that socialist base, they don't believe in borders, and nor do they put any value on it. They want a complete, unfettered immigration no matter what. Now, Why, ask yourself, the Democrats, did they try to sneak amnesty into the Senate reconciliation bill, free citizenship until the Senate parliamentarians stepped in? That's something of great value for Democrats. Is it their hope that, oh, we're going to give you something that other countries charge hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for? We'll give it to you, but you're going to vote Democrat, right? And you're not going to vote for those mean old Republicans that follow the law and believe that you should respect our law and our sovereignty and our borders. You're not going to vote for them. I don't care where you come from. Just do it legally. Forget that mass migration drives down wages for low-income workers. Forget the health and security implications in the middle of a pandemic. Forget the abuse, the rape, the human trafficking that goes on during these massive caravans through Mexico and other countries. Forget the mass migration drives down all of these wages, et cetera, et cetera. You know, all of this, you know, is done again and again and again, and Joe Biden has no clue. Apparently, none of these things matter to the radical left. So instead of securing the border and telling migrants not to come, Biden is deflecting, he's lying, and he's blaming everyone else, especially Donald Trump, blaming the Border Patrol, agents on horseback, falsely accusing them of whipping migrants. Even the photographer that took the picture said that didn't happen. That is a lie. Now, the Border Patrol Union, the agents are fighting back, and they're demanding an apology. He's blaming Congress for not passing comprehensive immigration reform. Joe, you're the president. You get it done. You have both houses of Congress, and your party runs the whole show. That's also a lie. Donald Trump controlled the borders. We had, what, a 40-year low of illegal immigrants. Why? Because he put in place measures like building a border wall, stay in Mexico policy, ending catch and release, which you have now turned into process and release. All of this and more. Biden is also blaming Trump for directly handing him a god-awful mess at the border. No, he actually handed you secure borders. He also handed you energy independence. He also handed you a world that was secure, an Afghanistan that was secure. And Joe even blamed the weather, claiming that the migrant surge was seasonal and would end during the summer months. It actually got worse. And I can report the migrant surge didn't end during the summer. It continues this day. August, 200,000 people alone.